So if you're planning on fixing a lawnmower, sometimes the repairs go way past cleaning the carb and you might end up touching every major system on it. And even if you get it running really well, you might end up dealing with parts such as the blade, self-propel, and brake cables, and not to mention the recoil. And even though you want to make this a very profitable hobby, sometimes it's the furthest thing from it. In today's video, we're going to be looking at this Mower lawnmower. And the problem is that we just picked this free mower up using my favorite app, but we don't know anything about its condition. But more than likely it's not going to start because, let's face it, who gives away a working lawnmower? So I have been fortunate enough to pick up working lawnmowers before, but this is a rare occasion, but I'm still hopeful that this might be one of those times. But before we get too far into the project, we need to record as much information we can about the machine just in case we need to order parts for it. You can try ordering parts if you don't have enough information, but your chances of getting the wrong parts might be higher. Now, one of the parts we might have to consider replacing are those worn-out wheels, but if we have some spares, we might not have to. We'll also have to look at the drive system because these front wheels seem to be fighting back when trying to push the mower. But most times, a bit of lubrication is all that's needed to get them spinning a lot better. Another item we need to replace is the broken brake cable, but there are ways to bypass it if you're in a real pinch to get the lawn cut. There's also quite a bit of gasoline in the fuel tank, but who knows what kind of condition it's in. But things turn a bit grim when looking at the condition of the oil. This is not the color of normal oil. What this is contamination. Now, I don't feel comfortable running the engine to get it warm for a proper oil change, so we'll just change it cold instead. And as you can see, this is not what it's supposed to look like at all, and if I had to guess, I'd say there was moisture in the oil. While the mower is lying on its side, this will be a great time to inspect the blade for damage, and well, you can see the damage a mile away. This kind of damage is from a lot of wear, not to mention some rusting as well. That means we need to replace it because this much damage will make the blade unbalanced and cause the entire mower to shake. Now, because we didn't do a proper oil change, there's still quite a lot of that brown oil left in the engine. So instead of putting new oil in, I'm going to pour in used oil until we get the engine hot enough for a real oil change. Unfortunately, on our first attempt to try and start the engine, it didn't do anything, so we'll prime the engine and see what happens next. Now, that was not the test start we wanted to hear, but at least it tried to start and run this time, which is good news. It means the engine's not worn out like those racing slicks in the front and the ignition system is working. But if your engine doesn't start and run, I would check for spark at the plug, and if that looks good, you might want to consider doing a compression test. The test is going to show you how healthy the engine is, and if the reading is too low, that's a pretty good reason for it not to start. Another reason for it not starting is if there's damage to the blade, which could cause the flywheel key to shear. And if that's the case, it'll cause the timing for the spark to happen at the wrong time, which is not helpful when it comes to starting the engine. Inspecting the key is not hard, especially on this engine because it's right under the starter cup on the flywheel. Keep in mind, this is only a possibility if there's damage to the blade and it has to be a hard enough impact. And even though this blade is heavily damaged, most of the damage is from wear and tear, not an impact. Next, we're going to remove the front cover to inspect it and also clean it just to keep it from rusting. Front-wheel drive systems like this one not only have poor traction, but also seem to collect a lot of grass clippings. That means it would be wise to remove the cover once a season to clean it, or maybe every other season would work too. Surprisingly, this one was very clean, which I'm not even sure how that's possible considering how worn out the tires are. So this is why we even bother cleaning stuff. That's because we're now able to see that the choke arm on top of the carb is stuck. That's because with the choke stuck in the open position would make starting this engine almost impossible unless the engine was already hot. Next up, we're going to take off the cables for the brake and self-propel. That way we can service the one for the drive and replace the broken brake cable. But since we have access to the drive system, this will be a great time to lubricate the supports for the drive axles. I'm also going to use my drill to rotate the pulley, that way we can see if the drive system still works, which it does. But if yours doesn't work, check and make sure your setup is like the one you're seeing because it might activate differently on yours. This one works by moving that lever arm, but yours might work by tension on the belt, so keep that in mind while testing it. Now, you do not need to do what I'm doing, but reducing the friction along the driveline will free up horsepower you can use on the grass. We do eventually service the wheels, but this is not the main focus of this part of the repair. But right now, we're going to take the cables off since we're going to clean them. However, if yours is really bad, then just replace them. So I'm not going to show the cleaning process this time because of a shortage of time, but all we did was spray brake cleaner into the cables to clean them. After that, we then applied a thin lubricant to the cables to make them work the best they can, but just cleaning them should be good enough. Just remember to test each cable after installing it to make sure they work better than they did before the cleaning. The self-propelled cable wasn't stuck, which made it a lot easier to clean, but if yours is a lot worse or even stuck, then you're in for a tough job. And as for the brake cable, the new one just showed up, not to mention our package of blades. So I ordered a package of 3 blades, and the reason is because it's cheaper to buy them in bulk. So if you can, buy more than one and you'll be set for a while. But I would understand if you're unwilling to buy more than what you need, and I can respect that. But as for this one, it is brand new, so it's going to work great, so we won't have to worry about it for a while. So next step, we need to figure out why the choke cable is getting stuck, otherwise it'll be impossible to start this engine. That means we've got to get to the carb and see what's getting stuck to the choke. Now this is not a typical problem, so this should be interesting. But on a different carb, the arm itself was rubbing against the metal and causing it to get stuck. But whatever's causing this problem, hopefully it'll be easy to fix, but what we see is kind of strange. I'll open the choke and as you can see, it does get stuck again, then it just sort of lets go all by itself. But if I had to make a guess, I would say the brass choke flap is getting hung up in the opening to the carb. Now to test this, we'll take out the flap and move the lever just like before, but this time it doesn't get stuck. So it works freely without even a hint of something wrong with it. So what are we going to do then? Simple, we'll just clearance the edge of the flap. This did take a couple of attempts since I didn't want to take off too much material, but as you can see it's no longer getting stuck. So a choke flap that was stuck open would definitely cause this engine not to start, but could there be more than one reason though? And it doesn't take long to answer that question. That's because after draining most of the fuel from the tank, this is what came out of it. And if you're not sure what you're even looking at, about 40% of what came out of the tank was water. Now the water either came from the fuel station or condensed and collected in their personal fuel tank over some time. Either way, we need to get the carb off the engine for inspection, not to mention draining the rest of that water out. Luckily for us, there's a huge plastic drain bolt at the bottom of the bowl that we can take off, and of course water comes out of the carb. And even though that opening is quite huge, we still need more access to the carb, so the bowl has to come off. Now even though these plastic carbs are pretty cheap, at least we don't have to worry about corrosion or pitting in the plastic. Just don't forget to replace that plastic drain, otherwise you'll be surprised by a massive fuel leak. Not surprisingly, the cartridge is fairly clean, but to be honest, I think that was the work of the water. I mean, even the jet is clear, which you don't find very often when old fuel is left in the system. Now, even though this cartridge is cleaner than most I've ever seen, I'm still going to clear the main fuel jet, not to mention clean any debris off of it. This is just a bit of insurance since we're already here looking at the carb, but to be honest, I don't think it needed any kind of work. And even though there was a tiny amount of debris stuck to part of the cartridge, I don't think it was hurting anything. Now that it's about as clean as it's going to get, I guess it's time to put the carb back together. So I do have a bit of a confession to make. Even though cleaning a carb is not difficult, even I have trouble getting them to work. So about 1 in every 20 carbs that I clean does work, however sometimes they don't work as well as they should be, either requiring them to need further cleaning or even needing to be replaced with a brand new one. That's why I have no trouble recommending that you buy a new one, sometimes it's just a better choice. Also, don't forget to install that O-ring and retainer to the outlet of the carb. That's because the O-ring is the only thing sealing the carb to the intake, and if there's an air leak there, the engine is very unlikely to run. But if you can't seem to find where yours went, then I would double check the round intake pipe because sometimes they come off there. Now once the carb and fuel tank are back onto the engine, check the operation of the choke just to make sure it's working like it should be. The linkage and arm I just installed is part of the bypass that works to turn off the choke when the engine is hot enough to not need it. And one of the things that you need to watch out for is connecting the arm in the wrong orientation, otherwise it's not going to work like it should. I don't know if you remember what the original air filter looked like, but it was an oily mess, and even though this one is not new, it'll work for now. But before we move away from the engine, I would like to remove the spark plug and inspect its condition. But as you can see, the business end of the spark plug is covered in thick carbon, not to mention some oil as well. And even though I would typically just clean this with my torch to save time, I'm just going to swap in a known good plug for the time being. But of course, before we do that, we need to check and make sure the gap on the plug is where we want it to be at, and for me, it's 25 thousandths of an inch, but you can choose a different value. Now some are going to tell me to replace the plug instead of cleaning it, and even though that is a decent choice, I like this way better. I've seen plenty of spark plugs replaced as part of a yearly tune-up, however, I like to reuse them as often as possible. Some of you are going to call me a cheapskate for doing that, but I don't mind being called that. But I am going to double check the oil one more time, and that's because I want to make sure I got a good read on the level. Now, checking the level right after adding oil to the engine can be very difficult, so it's nice to double check it. But the only thing that's helping us now is that we poured in used oil, which has a lot more color to it, making it easier to read. Now don't worry, once the engine gets up to temp, we'll do a proper oil change, but anything was better than what came out of the engine earlier. Now we almost forgot, the blade that's on here is severely worn and needs to be replaced with one of the new ones that came in earlier. And even though I consider myself a pretty frugal person, if your blade gets this bad, I would consider replacing it. I've also been told that these cheap blades aren't balanced from the factory, but after using the balancer, it looks good to me. But if you think yours is out of balance, then consider balancing it before you install it. However, it's been pretty consistent so far. So I'm a firm believer in getting what you paid for, but I am glad to see these cheap blades aren't total junk considering their price point. And once we get the blade bolted to the crankshaft and put some gasoline into the fuel tank, we'll be ready for our first test run. But just remember to watch out for any fuel leaks before trying to start the engine. So it's been running for several minutes and the engine should be good and hot. Let's see how it starts back up. And luckily for us, it started with no issues after getting close to full temperature. Yes, it would be better if we used it for 30 minutes, but several minutes should be good enough. However, we are going to do a 20-minute test run later on just to make sure it's not going to have any problems before we put it up for sale. We will of course change the oil, not to mention the air filter too, but what are we going to do about these worn out front wheels? They look absolutely terrible and could keep someone from buying them, however replacing them will cut into the profits. But if we do nothing, this mower might hang around for a long time. So my question is, how would you deal with these worn out front wheels? Replace them or do nothing at all? Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or your own projects, and I'll see you next time.